I said it was so nice to see so many of our new advising friends on the chat today. So that is, always good to see everybody with us. Today, Jen Clutter, who's the outgoing chair for Academic Advising Council, is going to be running the chat. So if anybody has any questions or anything you'd like to say at any point throughout today's meeting, feel free to drop those in the chat box, and Jen will take care of managing those. Our presentations today are going to be from Joy Carr, the new Director of Academic Advising here on campus, and then Damian Clement from the Honors College will also be talking about the Honors College as well. So we're going to go ahead and let Joy get started with the presentation. So Joy, I will turn it over to you to get started.
All right, well, thank you very much. I will give you a super brief introduction to me. I know quite a few of you, which I'm so happy to see you again. And I have at least heard of most of you who I haven't met yet, and I'm excited to get to know you a bit better. My name is Joy Carr. I'm the Director of University Advising. I've been at WVU since about 2006. I started out in the English department. I worked on first generation projects for a while, I would say probably about 4 years or so. And then right around 2013 to 2014 is when I became an advising specialist. And I think I was actually, weirdly, the first one at the university to have that title. And we since have many more, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And so I did that for a bit. And then in about 2018, I became the director of advising for the Eberly College's undergraduate studies program. And then about a month ago, I became the director of university advising for the university. And so one of the things that I wanted to do today is just share with you a sense of what I'm working on this year and what I hope to have some collaboration on as well and be able to share with you. So I'm going to do my best to share my screen and see if it works. Okay, one sec. Doing the whole privacy thing. All right. And of course, it is a new laptop, so naturally. Kayla, do you care to
Sure.
see if you can share it?
Yep, I can definitely share it.
We'll get the bugs out later.
1 second to get it open. All right, perfect. Can everyone see the PowerPoint?
So initially, one of the things that I've been doing is going around to various units to try to get a sense of where everyone is at and what they think they would like to do for this coming year. So I'm sure as many of you already know, there's a great deal of change around the university. Some places are trying different advising models. You can go ahead and advance it to the next one if you want to, Kayla. Thank you so much. And getting just a sense of what everyone is doing when it comes to how are advisees assigned? What's the typical advising load in your college? What does that look like? How is advising? What percentage of your job duties is it made up of, right? So there are a lot of projects that can't really get off the ground without a really good sense of what everyone is already doing. But some of the things that I'm already discovering from conversations with individual advisors and with larger units is that most of us are looking to try to have some sort of onboarding resources and best practices that we can find in a central location so that when we do have new folks come on board or we need to update something as a university, we all have one place where we can go to get that information. So I'm going to be working on that once I get a sense of some of the best practices around the units and what people are doing right now. That's probably my biggest goal for the fall. I want to be able to have something that we can all go to and update that will be updated regularly so we're all on the same page. Something else that's come up is ongoing professional development opportunities. And within the AAC, I know we've talked recently about maybe having those trainings for people who are a bit newer and maybe have certain skills that they would like to learn, maybe the software from some of the super users of Navigate that we have, that sort of thing, and some more advanced professional development opportunities for folks, which also includes potentially enhanced NACADA participation. So I would very much like to see WVU sort of become the regional powerhouse for NACADA. There's no reason why we couldn't be. We've got a lot of really great talent and we are tackling a lot of issues. And so I'm hopeful that we can get some participation in regional NACADA, which for us tends to happen in March. And I don't think our region has set the location yet. And then in October, of course, is the national convention for NACADA. And if you do well in your region, you get to go to the national one, I believe for free. So hopefully we can have some more representation there. And I'm also looking to see how we might be able to support people to go to NACADA if units aren't able to provide that support directly for themselves. You may have noticed that there's an advising website for students now. It's very simple. It's advising.wvu.edu. And it's very, very basic right now. It's a beautiful layout, but it's very basic in terms of information. It's got information about the Morgan chatbot, which we'll talk a little bit about in a second. Also how to find your unit and connect with your advisor, which you might want to check that out. That was kind of eye-opening. How students are being routed to their advisor is, you can get there a lot of ways. And if the classic version of DegreeWorks goes away, the advisor is not yet listed in the new version. So we're going to have to figure out how to make sure we update the student body on how to find us if they need to. And then the last thing I'd like to work on, which we will also probably workshop through the AAC, is a workplace culture survey. So I know periodically we get them from talent and culture, and they're usually divided into faculty, staff, and that doesn't necessarily capture the nuances of what a lot of us are doing. So I would like to work on and create a workplace survey where we can just survey our folks and get a sense of how they're working, what they're working on, and what they would like to see in the workplace. And I don't know that we're going to be able to address everything that we might find from that workplace culture survey, but boy, I'd sure like to know what the details are. Right. So those are some of the projects that I'm working on the advising side. Part of what I do is also supporting student retention and completion efforts. And so some of the projects that I've worked on so far is something called the Freshman Fit Survey. So in the beginning of the semester, by the end of the first 2 days of class, all of the freshmen received a survey and they answered the survey on their phone. And it asked them some basic questions, which I'll show you some in just a second. But essentially what we're trying to measure is fit at WVU, because we know that we're a pretty good price point for most students, and most students seem to be pretty happy with their major coming in. And so the reasons why they choose to leave us are a little harder to pin down, right? We have an exit survey that sometimes students will take and sometimes they won't. And so this survey measures attitudes at the beginning of the semester before they have, several classes and a test under their belt. And we're going to run the same survey again at the end of the semester and then measure how those things change, right? So it measures certain things like a liking of their major, comfort approaching advisors and instructors, and that sort of thing. So as an example, if you look at the next slide, you'll be able to see some of the things that we are measuring there. Kayla, will you move the slide?
Sure.
Thank you. So for example, and now this is the general population. I should also add that we broke out class and we assessed class separately because some of those students are not yet in their majors. We had about 60 class students respond and just right at 500 WVU students who were not in class respond. And so the initial question is, I feel comfortable contacting my advisor during the semester. And you can see that apart from the two people, actually it was 1.6, I don't know how that works, but how 1.6 of them said no, most of them said yes, they felt comfortable, which means they probably had a good NSO experience. They probably had a decent academic day experience, and the interactions that they've had so far probably make them feel pretty good. Now, at the end of the semester, we'll measure that again and see what that looks like, right? But we have the same question for instructors. I feel comfortable contacting my instructor during the semester. Now, at the end of the semester, what that question will look like is, I contacted my instructor during the semester. And if they say yes, then it will have a drop down to indicate how many times they contacted their instructor. The first time we ran this survey a few years ago was pretty interesting because I thought that the students who were doing poorly were just not going to seek help. What I found is that they were actually going several times, self-reported, granted, to their instructor's office hours, which told me they needed help asking the right question. So maybe they're going there and they're still not understanding, and they don't know how to say, I just still don't get it, or what have you, right? So here's another really good example. No, that's okay. You can go to it. Yeah. We asked the students for a sliding scale. It was a smiley face, and they got to drag the smiley face up or down, depending on how they felt. So I worry about the difficulty of my major. So the red was the biggest smile you could get. I'm really, really happy. And you can see that most people are in the red, purple, which is, and neutral, which is very happy, somewhat happy, or neutral. And then you get into the greens and the yellows being very worried and the greens being somewhat worried. And this is kind of interesting. So they like their major, they don't want to change out of it, but about half and half in terms of worrying about the difficulty of the major. For the class students, which is on the next slide, we measured fit for WVU, since a great deal of them are not yet in their majors. And so essentially we asked, WVU is a good fit for my interests. And you can see the majority of them thought it was a perfect fit. And then some of them, about 35%, were unsure. And there was one student who wants to change their major right now and is very concerned about that. So generally speaking, they're pretty optimistic. The very last question, which is on the next slide, students were given a series of words to respond to. When I think about my fall classes, I feel, right? And so if you see the things in green, those are the yeses, and the things in red are the nos. And so for instance, if it is highlighted red and the writing is white, that means that that was a dominant answer. So for instance, people clicked yes with anxious and yes with hopeful. And some of these words seem like they don't necessarily go together, right? They were definitely not sad or indifferent. They were very excited, nervous, anxious, and hopeful. And in some cases, it's 50-50. So for instance, with overwhelmed and overwhelmed, they're about half overwhelmed yes and half overwhelmed no. Half of them felt prepared and half of them didn't feel prepared. So really the feelings are sort of all over the board. And I think what's going to be interesting is checking this again at the end of the semester and seeing how those feelings change. It's hard to measure feelings. It's hard to know what to do with it, but sometimes if you can find the words that are the best descriptors, you can help point students in the right direction of the things that might ease anxiety. If preparedness, for example, goes way, way, way down, that's probably a different conversation than if anxious just goes way, way, way up. Right. So I'm hopeful that we can use this imagery and see a before and after and put it in some sort of, maybe like a word cloud so that you can see the kinds of information that students are giving us about how they feel about certain things. So this will run again at the end of the semester. The second thing that I did is we worked on an attendance report, and many of you have helped me with this. I'm very grateful for it. So what we wanted to do is track students who had missed the first 2 sessions of class in 191. And the reason that we were doing this is because research indicates if students aren't attending their 191 classes, not only are they more likely to end up on academic probation and all of those other things we don't want them to do in the first semester, but there is an 84% chance they're not going to anything else. And so we wanted to try to catch them as early as possible. We already have a 4-week alert that's supposed to, to clear out this week as well, which will give us additional information. But essentially, what we were doing is reaching out in multiple ways once we identified these students. So the instructor often reached out, the advisors reached out and put a note in DegreeWorks. We also used the chat bot to reach out to those students, which I'll show you that in just a second. And we were tagging them in Navigate so that we can try to track them and provide some support where necessary. So ultimately, we identified about 94 students. And outreach was performed on those students. Some of them have already been lost to RNP. 85 students were contacted via chatbot. The reason that number is lower is because some students did not have a phone number listed in the chatbot texts, right? So if there's no text number to text, then we can't outreach to them. Of the texts that we sent out, 13 failed, so wrong number, right? And 72 were successful. The bot handled 21 responses from those texts, which were great, except it included one very confused parent, which I'm working with her right now. And then 8 were quote unquote agent operated, and that means me, right? And so what that means is it allows us to provide some very targeted outreach to students. In some cases, several of them said, I don't know why I'm getting this. I've been there every time. And so then check with your instructor, make sure you're being recorded properly. Some of them said they had been sick, that they had now checked in and everything was fine. And 2 said, I decided not to go to WVU, so that's why I'm not there. And I said, well, you need to make sure you dropped all your classes and make sure that you're not being charged for anything, etc. So it provides an intervention point that's pretty important, especially if you look at the next slide, when you get texts like this. Right. So this was probably the most intrusive one that we did. So this is the message they all got, right? It uses their first name. This is Morgan, your chatbot. I noticed you weren't attending. We're worried about you. I can try to help now if you text me, and an advisor will be following up if needed. I didn't say your advisor because I didn't want to put pressure on individual advisors to do specific outreach in a very short amount of time. So I just said an advisor. And so in Mallory's case, she texted back and said, I suck at school. So I've contacted Mallory's advisor, who's already been reaching out to her several times. And Mallory's having problems going to class, generally speaking, and there's probably a whole lot of other things underlying that issue as well. So what I like about the chatbot is that even though it seems kind of impersonal, maybe to some of us, I do think that students take their guard down with it. I really believe that because they don't think another human being is on the other end, they're being very candid about their situation. And that gives us an opportunity to see where a student might actually need or want an intervention much earlier. You may have seen on eNews when Mallory, the chatbot, or sorry, Morgan, the chatbot was launched, we had quite a few responses from students who were just testing it out. And a great deal of them were texting things about financial aid. Where's my refund check? How can I check? Why do I have a balance? I just paid my bill. And the chatbot handled quite a bit of good information, like how do I drop a class? How do I change a class? Where is this building? And there are automatic responses built into that at hours that we can't possibly answer. And hopefully that will reduce some of the basic email that we get from students who are asking certain very basic things. And then probably about 15% of the chatbot's responses were what's called banter. So for example, people saying, do you have to go to class when it rains? Are you a real person? You know, that sort of thing. And Morgan interacts with that too. She interacts up to the point where she doesn't understand the question. And then she'll simply say, I don't understand your question. Can you ask something else? So I'm hopeful that this texting feature, we can utilize it strategically so that when we do have certain target populations, we're really trying to reach for certain things, that the chatbot can provide some support that traditionally we've not been able to at hours that we've not been able to. Probably the best example I can think of is the deadline to drop a class and the number of students who will email us after operating hours at 11 o'clock at night, maybe trying to figure out how to do it. So I'm hopeful that this becomes part of the student culture and can answer some of those last minute questions and maybe solve a few of the problems that we typically see during the semester, or at least reduce the number of students who have that problem and are waiting on us for an answer. So that's basically what I've got. I want to encourage you to reach out throughout the semester if you have things you'd like to talk about or ideas you'd like to work on. I'm coming to various colleges and meeting with some of the key people to get a sense of what you're doing in your unit, what you'd like to do this year, and some basic advising structural practices so that I'm better informed when I try to put certain things together as well. So I see a question in the chat bot. Targeted to just undergrads. I believe it is targeted to just undergrads, Amanda. I think that it just went out to undergrads, but I could be wrong about that. Anything else you'd like to ask? Or if you think of something, you can pop it in the chat and I can circle back to it. chatbot conversations. So the chatbot conversations are logged in a dashboard. I don't think that I know every advisor does not have access to the Ocelot dashboard. So if advisors were to get this information, it would be forwarded to you from either myself or Regan Bruni, who also operates the chatbot dashboard. But it's not like Navigate, where if you put something in Navigate, anyone who logs in and sees that student's profile will be able to see that information. Okay, we can move on to the next thing. And then if you have questions, I'm happy to type in the chat and answer them. Or if you think of something later, just let me know.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Joy. That was a very informative presentation. And next up, we're going to have Damian Clement from the Honors College. Damian, do you want to try to share your screen first?
Yes, Kayla, I can try to
Okay.
do that. I see
While
the
Damian's
option.
pulling up his screen, Joy, it looks like we did have another question that came through.
So the question is, do you think the conversational interaction would be more effective around registration time compared to a drop-down menu such as a WUFU form? Mark, I'm assuming you're asking that because you're trying to figure out about chemistry permits. Just a guess, just a wild guess. So I will say one of the things that I really like about the chatbot is we can build our own questions into the chatbot. So if a student asks me or asks Morgan, for instance, I can't get into my chemistry class. We can build a series of answers around that question so that they are directed to your form and they can just click on it from their phone and fill it out. And that's what I would recommend, is that you and I talk about what would be the best way to direct students to the form that you're already using. Because that's what she does, is she just refers students to links constantly to make sure that they've got what they need.
I have a question, Joy. So if we, as advisors, if we are starting to see sort of a trend in the email communication that we're getting from students, that may be identifying perhaps a larger issue, would be best to reach out to have maybe the Morgan intervention as an option in terms of creating additional content for answers and responses.
I think either reaching out to Regan or to me would be a good idea, so that we can make sure that Morgan's answers and logic are always up to date. And also we may want to put something on the website, the advising.wvu.edu website, if we see it's an issue. For example, I'm thinking about mid-semester classes and the frequently asked questions that always come up with that every year, right? So that would be something that we would be interested in. I do think we want, just like Navigate, we want to be very strategic about deploying those campaigns, because students can opt out of the chatbot. And every time we launch it, we do have students who click stop and that opts them out immediately. And so I don't think we can re-add them to the chatbot calling stuff once they're out of it. So we do want to be strategic about outreach, but we want to make sure that Morgan's as up to date as possible. So I would say, yes, if you're noticing a particular trend, we can address that either through the website and or through chatbot logic. And that just gives us, it's not going to replace anything that we're trying to do as advisors. It just gives us more points, more touch points throughout the semester for a student to get their answers. I would expect registration to prompt a bunch of questions to the chatbot, but we've never run it like that before, so we'll see.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
All right. Okay, Damian, are you ready?
Yes, I am. And I think I'm able to share. Let's see. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
All righty. Well, thank you all for the opportunity to talk to this group. My name is Damian Clement. I'm the Associate Dean at the Honors College here at West Virginia University, Professor of Sport, Exercise, and Performance Psychology, and I use he, him, and his pronouns. What I want to do today is just kind of review some basic advising information as it relates to the Honors College. I'm going to go through some information here, and at the end, I can ask few questions. So if at any point in time you want to raise your hand, or actually, let's just wait until the end and then we can answer any questions. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is what I'm what I plan to do today is just overview the Honors College. And then
Dr. Clement, we're seeing your inbox, and I'm seeing your
oh,
inbox.
oh, sorry. Oh, you don't want to see that inbox then. I am sorry. I thought, let's see. Let me stop that share. Thanks, Taylor. I thought I had that sorted there, but I guess I did not. Oh, let's see. Screen 2. Share. Is this?
There we go.
Oh, you're seeing my other
You
screen
asked if
now.
we saw your screen, and the answer was yes. So it was technically
Yeah.
correct.
You're just seeing my other screen. That's because I got 3 screens going here. I should have sorted this before I did this. Let's try this now. Okay. Are
So
you
now we see your
seeing
desktop. This is
which
your
one?
PowerPoint. Now we
You
see your
see-
PowerPoint.
Now you see my PowerPoint.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's try this. Take 2 now. Apologies about the mix-up there. So let's see if take 2 is going to work better for me. So I think you're oh boy, I am sorry that this is just not working here for me. I should know how to do this, shouldn't I? Stop the share. Why is this giving so much trouble? I apologize. I know how to do this, I promise. Screen 2. But that's still that screen there. Ah, man, I don't know what I'm doing now. Stop share. Oh boy, apologies.
Do you want me to share your?
Yeah, you just share it because I obviously don't know what I'm doing here with this share screen thing.
Hey, Damien, if you stop your slideshow, sometimes that helps
Okay.
to figure out what screen you're actually using.
Yeah, that's helpful. Let me try it one more time.
Okay.
If I do this and I do that, you see that, and I do that.
Yeah, just do it from there.
Okay, I'll just do it from here then. It doesn't. Oh, okay. I'll just do this. Apologies that I can't figure this out. I should know how to do this, but it's all good. So one of the first things I like to do when I talk about the Honors College is I always lead any presentation that I give about honors is that honors at WVU doesn't emphasize harder, faster, or more work. That's not what we try to do here in honors at WVU. We try to frame honors in the sense that honors presents students with a gateway that's going to allow them to maximize their academic, co-curricular, and social experiences to be the best student that they can be. So how do we actually do this? Well, we have 3 signature programs here within honors that we think do a really good job of helping students to actualize who they actually are and what they can achieve here at the university. So the first one we have is our mentor program. So we have this mentor program that is based on the premise that we have upper class honors students who are teaching our introduction to honors class, which is our HONR 102 class. And these are the students who help to shepherd, for lack of a better word, our first year students as they make this transition into college and life in the honors and life at WVU. Now, these upper class students are trained in the sense that they take a class the spring semester before if they're first-time mentors to help prepare them for the process. And they're also concurrently enrolled in a teaching practicum course where they meet on a weekly basis with Dr. Watts and Eric Mercy to receive constant feedback about how they're doing. We've limited these courses to 13 students. So typically we have 1, maybe 2 mentors, 13 students, and it's more of an informal type of course in the sense that the first 8 weeks of the semester, we introduce them to honors related concepts and how the honors college is set up, helping them understand the resources they have access to in honors. And the second half of the semester, we do like a book study, for lack of a better word. The book we're using this semester is Start With Your Why. So students are going to read this book and they're going to come to class and process and unpack what is being taught what is being talked about in that books. We have prompts that we give them to think about, consider, and engage with the material in that way. Most of these classes are held in Honors Hall in our study lounges, so it's a little bit more of a casual environment. And up on Evansdale, they're held in Lion Tower. So why we really like this approach is that we use our upper class students to help lay the foundation and help our incoming students transition into life here at WVU and in the Honors College. The second thing we have, and there's lots of these across campuses, we have our live learn community. Our live learn community here in Honors is based on the premise of our students obviously living together. The majority of our students live within Honors and Lincoln Hall, and the rest of them are spread across campus. But any student that is a member of the Honors College is able to participate in our live learn community activities, and it's based on the premise of providing a number of events that students can participate in, all that have sort of an educational twist, educational focus to the majority of them. This slide here just kind of gives you some of the activities and events that we've done so far this semester. We've had a couple of successful Meet the Dean sessions where Dean Blemons and myself meet students, interact with students, talk with students, get to know students a little bit better. We usually invite Dr. Gordon, President Gee, in to meet our students, interact with them as well. And we do a really good job of inviting professors and instructors from various colleges to come in so that our students can get to spend time with these individuals outside of the classroom in a more casual type of setting. We do a Cookies and Conversation series where we try to invite alums from WVU and the Honors College who've gone on to do some really wonderful and spectacular things to come in and speak to our students. We primarily do this via Zoom because Zoom is actually really easy to get alums to come in via Zoom. And we try to expose our students to some of these, to our alums, not only for them to act as a networking opportunity, but to help them understand that these individuals were in their seats at one point in time and they were able to go through what they are currently going through and have gone on to be really successful and do some really excellent things. So we're really happy with that series, and we've had decent turnouts and students have been able to make some connections with some of our alums. We also do some social stuff as well. We do some trivia. I think the first week of the semester we had pop culture trivia, and I think they're planning I think it's either a Disney, Marvel, Harry Potter, one of those three coming up pretty soon. Students kind of get together. We usually do it up in the Towers Ballroom, and students can pick their own teams. We have the trivia stuff all set up, and they go after it. There's prizes, there's raffles, and it's usually a good time had by all. We also do some trips as well. I think we do one of the more popular trips we do a trip up to Pittsburgh, a day trip up to Pittsburgh, where we take the students up and we go to the Strip District in Pittsburgh and experience all the cultural vibrance that goes on in that area. And then either in the afternoon, we would either go to a hockey game or to see a play or something like that. So within the course of that whole day, students are either getting a cultural experience and a sporting experience, or a cultural experience and artistic experiences. We also take some bigger trips where we've gone to Gettysburg, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I have the Roll Hall of Fame there. That should be the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We go into Columbus at some point this semester. We've also took a trip last spring where we went up to Pittsburgh to see Hamilton, the play, and that was actually tied with a course that we were offering that semester. The final thing that we have is we have a Testwell Learning Center, which is a multidisciplinary tutoring center housed in both Honors and Lincoln Hall. The thing that I want to emphasize about our Testwell Learning Center, it is open to any student. It's not just Honors students are welcome there. It's just physically located in Honors Hall, Lincoln Hall. We also have a location in Brook Tower as well. But what it is, it's a multidisciplinary tutoring center that is staffed by honor students who've taken a course to become a tutor and also pass a certification exam by the National Tutoring Association. No appointment necessary. 7 to 10 p.m. Monday, Wednesdays, Honors Hall. Tuesday, Thursday, it's Lincoln Hall. We also have an online option as well if students want to exercise that option. We also try to let our students know that they have leadership potential, leadership ability, and we want them to continue to learn and grow as leaders. So we have some options in Honors that we try to emphasize to our students and tell them, hey, you've had leadership experience in high school. You've done this stuff before. We want you to continue to learn and grow as leaders. So we have the Honor Student Association. Every honor student is automatically a member of the Honor Student Association. And what the Honor Student Association is a group of honor students that plan activities and events for their fellow honor students. Our resident assistant has a pretty popular leadership position around campus, especially in the residence hall. As I said, most of our honor students live in either Honors Hall or Lincoln Hall, and the rest are scattered across campus. So that's a really cool leadership position if our students are interested in that. The tutoring and mentoring, those are leadership positions as well. And we also have hall council. Our hall council in honors is tied to a class. It's called HUNR 101. The students in those hall council classes plan activities and events for the students that live in either honors or Lincoln Hall. A really good opportunity for students, once again, to interact with each other outside the classroom and help develop and build their leadership skills. So we try to always push the leadership stuff as well. We also have some special interest groups in honors. We want every honor student to know that they have a home and a place in honors. So we have 3 special interest groups. We have the LGBTQ plus and allies affinity group. We have the students of color affinity group, and we have the first generation affinity group. We encourage students that if any of these groups appeal to them, they can join these groups. They don't necessarily need to attend every meeting because everybody's schedule is different, but know that they have opportunities to engage with like-minded students in each one of these special interest groups. One of the other things I always like to tell individuals associated with honors is that we have 3 affiliate offices. And these 3 affiliate offices, although they are housed in honors, for any WVU students can take advantage of the opportunities offered by these offices. So the first one is the Office of Undergraduate Research. And what that office does, it introduces students to research and provide them with research opportunities. The literature has shown that students who are involved in research are going to be more involved in their major, going to form better relationships with their faculty members, and are going to more efficiently matriculate through their majors. So we encourage students to get involved in research. That office offers a number of different programs. I'm just going to briefly mention 2. The first one is the Research Apprenticeship Program, which is a program for first and second year students, where students are introduced to research and paired up with a mentor. And depending on the student's financial aid status, they can get work-study funds for being a part of this program. Second one is the SHORE program, Summer Undergraduate Research Experience, which is an 8-week paid research experience during the summer. Mostly sophomore, junior, senior students are the ones that participate in those type of experiences. So we really try to encourage our students to get involved in research because we believe only good things can happen with students get involved with research. The next office is the Aspire office, and in the Aspire office helps students with nationally competitive scholarships. And we're not necessarily talking scholarships that are going to pay for your tuition, but it's more scholarships that can probably allow you to go overseas and have an educational experience. So we're talking about scholarships such as the Marshall Scholarship, Boren, Rhodes, Fulbright, Critical Language, Gilman, those type of things. So these scholarships mostly are sophomore, junior, senior type of scholarships. So we tell students, if this is something that's of interest to you, reach out to the folks in the Aspire office. They will gladly help you figure out the scholarship that's right for you, help you understand the requirements. In some cases, they can help you through the application process, even do a mock interview with you to kind of help get you ready for that process. The folks in that office also help with some graduate school preparation stuff as well. So when that time comes around and you have students who are in need of that help, the folks in the Aspire office can provide some guidance in that area. And the last office we have is the Office of Pre-Health Professional Development. And they help students with regards to who are interested in going to any of those professional health related schools. So you talk about med school, dental school, vet school, PA school, any of those type of schools. What we typically tell students is in order to get into any one of these schools, you have to take certain courses. You got to have a certain GPA. You got to take an MCAT, PCAT, or entrance exam of some sort. But then you need to have these other experiences that are going to make you a really competitive candidate. The folks in the Office of Pre-Health Professional Development, Kristen and Cole, they can help you figure out what those experiences are. And they ideally like to see students their freshman year so they can help them chart out their freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. So whenever they put that application together, it's going to be really competitive. They offer a number of seminars, webinars, workshop, mock interviews, all that sort of stuff to get students prepared. So before I leave this slide, once again, I want to emphasize that although these 3 offices are housed under the umbrella of the Honors College, they offer services and are open to any student at the university. Okay, so now just getting into honors. So about, let's see, 2017, in the fall of 2017, the Honors College made a transition from a 4-year program where students started and were in the program for 4 years to two separate programs. So now we have the Honors Foundation program, which is a course-based program designed to enhance students' general education experience. The students are typically enrolled in the Honors Foundation program in their freshman and sophomore year. And ideally, we want our students to get their honors courses and honors experiences in their major, but sometimes it doesn't always work out that way, but they can definitely get their honors courses and credit requirements and experiences via their general education requirements. Secondly, students have the option to apply to be in the Honors Excel program. And just so you know, students don't have to be in foundations in order to complete Excel. A student can just be admitted as a regular student and decide that they want to be in Excel in their junior and senior year. Students for that program would typically apply in the second semester of their sophomore year. It's more for experiential learning based program. So they apply with a project in mind. The project could be involving research, or internship, community engagement, study abroad, anything to that nature. But that's more for junior, senior type of experience. So just and before I actually get into honors foundation, I want to educate or just inform of the different methods by which students are admitted into honors. So the first 3 options there are for the incoming first-time freshman students. So students first need to be admitted into WVU. Once they're admitted into WVU, based on where they are, they will be sent an invitation to apply to be in the Honors College. So the first option is a test-based option. Students with a high school GPA 3.7, weighted or unweighted, 26 ACTs or 1230 redesigned SAT. Once they hit those benchmarks or criteria, they are automatically invited to be to apply to be in the Honors College, and those students would have to complete a single application essay to be considered to be in honors. The second category is a test blind option. That's students with a 3.7 plus GPA on a 4.0 scale or a 4.0 on a 5.0 scale. These students, once they have that criteria, they will also be invited. These students will have an extended application that probably has 3 essays, and those essays are reviewed by the admission committee to determine admission. And then if you don't fall into either of the 2 options, test-based or test-blind, you can alternatively just request an application. If you don't hit the GPA or test scores requirement, you can request an application. Once again, that's an extended application, and that would also be reviewed by an admission committee. Now, so that's the first-time freshman. That's the option into honors. Now, if you have the students who are admitted into WVU, non-honors, a regular student, if they've completed 1 semester, they can apply to be in the Honors College starting their spring semester. It's called our quote-unquote second semester admissions. Those students would have to have completed ideally less than 20 credits, have a 3.7 cumulative GPA with no I's or W's on their transcript, and they can apply at the end of that fall semester to be admitted and started in the Honors College in their spring semester. And then we have the Excel program. Because we have a 2+2 program now. Excel are students who probably that program starts for them in their junior year. So they would apply to the Excel program in the second semester of their sophomore year, and they can start to be in the Honors College in their junior year. So just looking at the specifics of the Honors Foundation program. So in order to successfully complete the Honors Foundation program, students need to complete 5 honors courses, 13 credits. And it's not an either or, it's an and one of those courses need to be HRNR 2, the GPA requirements, you need to have a 3.5 honors GPA and a 3.0 cumulative GPA. Ideally speaking, students complete the program in 4 semesters. I simply like to tell students whenever I explain the program, 4 semesters. If you take 1 3-credit course for each semester, so that's 3, 6, 9, 12. Your 5th course is your HONR 102 course, and your 13th credit is your HONR 102 course. Now, we don't evaluate our students after each semester. We evaluate our students after each academic year. So after next spring semester, we're going to pull all the grades and we're going to look at everybody. And as a first-year student, you need to complete 2 honors courses, 4 honors credits with a 3.0 honors and a 3.0 cumulative GPA. Once you've met that benchmark, you can automatically progress into the second semester of the second year of the program. If you have not met that benchmark, we are going to remove you from the program and you're not going to be eligible to apply to be in the foundation program anymore. But if you're so desirous, you can apply to be in the Excel program. Now, at the end of year 2, you have 3 options. At the end of year 2, you've either met the criteria to complete the program, which is 5 honors courses, 13 credits, 3.5 honors GPA, and 3.0 cumulative GPA. Then you're completed the program. You can either not meet those requirements, and then we tell you, thank you very much for being a part of the Honors College. Best wishes for future success. Or if you have completed 4 honors courses, 10 honors credits with a 3.5 honors GPA and a 3.0 cumulative GPA, you're eligible to apply for an extension. Now, 4 and 10 might sound like it's actually some arbitrary numbers, but if you think about it, 4 is 1 less than 5 and 10 is 3 less than 13. So that means you are 1 3-credit honors course short, assuming that you've taken 1 3-credit honors course for 3 semesters. So once you've reached that, at the end of that 4th semester, we send out emails to our students to either apply to complete the program or apply for an extension. You apply to complete the program, you do that stuff, you're going to finish the program, you apply for an extension. We will grant you that extension once you've hit those benchmarks, and we don't put a time stamp, for lack of a better word, on when a student can complete the program. We give you an extension and you can complete the program either in your 5th semester, your 6th semester, your 7th semester, your 8th semester. We don't control that. We just say you have an extension to complete the program. Priority registration ends at the end of their fourth semester, regardless, unless you continue. If you continue on, you still technically have the honors indicator on there, so you would get it. But for the most part, priority registration ends after year 2. Just briefly, some of the benefits there. We talked about priority registration. Students are going to get 3 semesters of priority registration. And that 3 semesters is because their first semester that they come in, they don't necessarily get priority registration because they're not here at the university. Access to honors living. We have Honors Hall and Lincoln Hall. The majority of our students live between those 2 residence halls, and the rest are scattered about. Honors advisor in your major. The honors advisor and your major advisor are usually one and the same person. This year, we've been doing a better job of making sure we're doing outreach to students who have advisors who are not necessarily familiar with honors, trying to get them more in the loop. And recognition on your transcript and diploma. So if a student successfully completes the Honors Foundation program, we are going to put on their transcript and on the diploma Honors Foundation Scholar. And those students will also get to wear a gold gown at graduation. If in addition to completing the Honors Foundation program, you also complete the Honors Excel program, you're going to be designated as an Honors Laureate. And you're also going to get that on your transcript and diploma, as I said, and you're going to get to wear the gold gown, and you're also going to get a stole as well. And the other aspect is if you did not start in honors, but you just applied and completed the Honors Excel program, it's going to be Honors Excel Scholar on your transcript, diploma, gold gong, and stool as well. Actually, I'm not sure about that one. I think you just get the gold gong. That I might need to. And that little nugget there, Honors Excel. Actually, no, I think you may get a medallion, but I will find out that and correct me. I'm not too familiar with that part. Just to kind of wrap up here, just kind of giving you some options for honors coursework. So the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things I have some slides for that, a couple of slides all combined. But you see peer leadership programs listed there. Our peer leadership programs are our tutoring program and our mentoring program. Students have to take classes in order to be a mentor and a tutor, and associated with those classes can count towards your honors courses and honors credit requirements. English 103. English 103 is a course that's not necessarily listed as an honors course, but if a student takes English 103, it's going to populate into the honors block and count as an honors course. So that's something to be aware of. And the last thing written on there is honors 297 or any 497 or 498. So the honors foundation program is primarily coursework based, but we do allow students to take a maximum of 3 experiential learning course options. For example, research can count for 3 credits towards the requirements of the honors foundation program. So just some screenshots there, some courses there. So when you're looking at the course schedule, and I'm sure I apologize if I'm being redundant or talking down to some of you all there. But if you're trying to figure out the honor section of a regular course, we just technically just kind of looks at the section number. You're going to see an H in front of that section number. That's typically how we can tell that it's the honor section of a course. We also offer add-ons. Add-ons are a separate meeting of a course where the students go a little bit more deeper into the content being taught in the course, or the students work on a project with their fellow honor students and the professor. The example we have here, Bio 115, and there's a 115 add-on. Students would need to complete both sections, both the Bio 115 and the Bio 298C. And when they complete this, they're going to get 4 honors credits, as is, 3 credits for the regular course and 1 credit for the add-on, and it counts as 1 course. The other thing that I want to say about this is that there's usually a bio lab associated with this Bio 115. Lab courses do not count towards your honors courses and honors credits requirements. And the last one we have on there is a cross-listed course. The honors students, if they want to get credit, for example, in this human diversity course, they would register for the H01 section of this course. And typically in a cross-listed course, the honors students are going to have an additional educational experience or educational enrichment experience as determined by the professor, and that's going to aid them with regards to completing their honors credits. The book study courses that I mentioned the Hamilton trip that we did this past spring was tied with a book study course. These book study courses are a little bit different. They're not necessarily lecture courses or content heavy. They are associated with the intellectual interest of the faculty member or the instructor teaching it. So the instructor or the professor is going to have 2, maybe 3 books that they're going to assign. Students are going to get assigned reading. Students are going to read, and they're going to come to class and be engaged in an intellectual discussion with the faculty member and their fellow students. The courses options, they change from semester to semester. Usually some pretty cool and unique courses are offered. These courses can be either 8 weeks or 16-week courses there. I believe we only have 1 mid-semester course this semester, but next semester we're going to have a fair amount of first 8 weeks, 16-week sessions courses, and second 8-week courses. We're going to have some descriptions for these courses as well, so hopefully your students will be able to look at them and be able to make some informed decisions as into courses they want to take. Now, I mentioned, ideally speaking, we want our students in 1 3-credit course each semester. However, we understand that due to schedules and all sorts of stuff, it's possible that a student may not be able to fit an honors course in their schedule. If a student cannot fit an honors course in their schedule, I think that's all fine. We also have an option where students can contract a course in order to gain honors credit from a non-honors course. And they do that by engaging with the material in a different way, and that could be via a paper, a project, a presentation, or whatever have you. The one thing I want to emphasize is that this is a student-driven process. So the student is the one that needs to develop the idea and go to their professor and work out the parameters of the project, how it's going to be graded, what it's going to consist of, all that sort of good stuff. Once they've figured that out, they would need to apply to us in honors. We have a WUFU application on our website. They have up until the 7th week of the semester to do that. So once they submit that application, we're going to review the application foundation. And if we approve it, if we think it's good, we reach out to the professor and be like, hey, have you have a conversation with the student? Are you willing to do this, etc., etc. Once the professor agrees, we're going to pre-approve the students so that they can start working on the project. They can work on the project throughout the course of the semester. We're going to then reach out to the professor at the end of the semester and be like, hey, did John Doe complete this project? Did they get an A or B on that project? If they did, then they would get honors credit for that class. The thing with contracts, the whatever they're working on needs to be independent of the work being done in the class. So a student cannot come to us and say, hey, we have a 10-page paper in this class. I want to do 5 more pages, add 5 more pages to this paper. That's not how a contract would work. The contract work needs to be independent of the work being done in the class. So theoretically speaking, the student could fail the contract and it's not going to have any impact on what on their regular coursework. A couple of things about contracts, any level. Prior to this year, we were a lot more strict about, we were for some reason not allowing contracts for 100 level courses, but we really couldn't find a rhyme or reason for doing that. So we've kind of done away with that and we evaluate each contract on their own merit. A student can only contract a course for the number of credits it's offered. So if it's a 3-credit course, you're contracting the course for 3 credits. You can't contract a 3-credit course for 1 credit, if that makes any sense. The other thing about contracts, if the course is being taught by a graduate assistant or a teaching assistant, those courses are not eligible to be contracted. We would not do a contract with a GA or a TA. However, if the student is so desirous of contracting that class, we would encourage them to reach out to the supervising instructor of that GA or TA, and we would work with them in order to set a contract up for that student, and that person would be the one evaluating the contracted work. Just moving on to the end here, a couple of things with degree works. I want to at least thank each and every one of you who work with our students for the patience that you show with regards to degree works, because we know there's usually some issues with degree works, and we are thankful for the degree works folks for working with us. I just want to point out a couple of things here. When you look at the honors block, you're going to typically see there's some content up top that, you know, just tells us the minimum GPA, the number of honors courses, the number of honors credits that need to be completed. We also have the courses up here that do not count, and these are typically lab courses that you're going to find up here. The other thing to take a note of, you're going to see a still needed section. For all intents and purposes, students and faculty and advisors can ignore this section. Once a student has completed their 5 honors courses, their 13 honors credits, a 3.5 honors GPA and a 3.0 cumulative GPA, that still needed section is going to go away. The only thing I like to say about still needed is, remember I talked about English 103. If a student takes English 103, it is going to automatically populate into their honors block, but they are by no means required to take any of these courses here. The other thing is, about a couple years ago, we added this honors eligible block. And what this block is, it is a catch-all for all the honors courses a student has taken. What typically happens sometimes with some students is that their honors courses don't all populate into the honors block. They go AWOL sometimes, but even if they're AWOL from the honors foundation block, they are always going to be in the honors eligible block. So we can easily find and locate that honors course and easily populate it back into the honors block. This block does not need to be completed. So like how you see all this additional work, this stuff can stay as is, and it's not going to prevent the student from graduating or completing the honors foundation program. The only block that needs to be completed is the honors foundation block. Everything needs to be checked off, but with the honors foundation block, that's not necessary. I just want to give a spotlight here because I felt like I saw her on the Honors Excel program. So that's the end of it with regards to Honors Foundation. I feel questions after, but I wanted to also use this opportunity to remind and let everyone know that the Honors Excel program now has a new director, Dr. Clarissa Estep, who I think will be reaching out to this group in the spring to kind of introduce or talk about Excel. We are really excited to have Dr. Estep on, and I think we think she brings a lot of expertise and knowledge, especially in the experiential learning realm, that I think is going to be really good for our program. So that is actually my contact information there. So now I'm going to stop my share, and you can actually see me again. and open up the floor if anybody has any questions. And if not, that's okay as well.
All right. Any questions for Damien?
Not a question, Dr. Clement, but just a reminder that we do honor or recognize transfer work that has
Yes.
honors credit. If we can
Yes.
confirm that the transfer institution awarded honors credit for that course, we add the honors attribute onto that equivalent or non-equivalent course. So it will fall into that additional honors block. So if a student didn't receive honors credit, I think they should. Please have them reach out to us. We will do some extra due diligence if we didn't catch it on the front end, but we need to be able to distinguish it from non-honors courses at the transfer institution. If we can't do that, we can't put the honors attribute on.
Thank you, Taylor, for that reminder, and thank you for your efforts in doing that work for us.
All right. Well, thank you again, Damien and Joy, for joining us today. Both had really good information for everybody in the advising community. So thanks again. I also wanted to just give a reminder, if you are a new advisor or if you're not a new advisor and you're just not on the AAC listserv, you can just email either Jen or I or the AAC account and request to be added to our listserv. We try to send out a message of the week every week towards the end of the week, usually on Fridays, with information that's been shared with us by different groups in the university relevant to advising, or information from the council regarding like our upcoming workshops and registrations and things like that. So if you're currently not receiving those emails, just let us know and we'll make sure that you get added. Also, if you have new folks in your units that aren't here today, if you're not sure if they're receiving the emails, you might just check in with them and remind them to get added onto the AAC listserv if they're not already there.
And if they don't know, you can also email us that and we can search the listserv to find out if they're there.
Sure.
On a similar note, I realized, thank you, Mark, for nudging me. New folks may not know what NACADA is. It's the National Academic Advising Association. It's our national conference. It's our national professional development organization. I put a link to it in the chat. It's got all kinds of really good information, not just about the conference, but about student issues, types of advising, right down to articles about how to make really good notes in something like DegreeWorks, right? So I would really encourage you, if you've never heard of it before, to check it out and see if that's something your unit will let you join. But that's my apologies for just assuming that everyone knew what that was. So I wanted to make sure we all had that and that you could check it out when you feel like it.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up our workshop today. If anybody has any questions or anything you want to stay behind, I'm sure Jen and I will hang out here for a few minutes, but if not, we'll see you again in October. And we will be sending out that workshop title and registration information in the next week or so. All right. It was good to see everybody. Have a nice week. I'll go ahead and turn the recording off.